A podcaster, not us, has leaked text message exchange they had with Wests Tigers chairman Lee Hagipantelis in response to his request to have the club chairman join the show. So these guys, Rob Becerra, the host of Wests Live podcast, reached out to the chairman of the board and said, come on the podcast. Now, I don't want to encourage people to listen to the Wests Live podcast. First of all, shittest name of all time.
I kind of rate it, but okay.
It's
Wests
shit.
Live.
Wests Live. No, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Is that Wests Live? You from?
No, that's Backstreet Boys.
What was Wests Live?
That was the
Anthony
other one.
Kalia?
No.
Tim,
It doesn't.
Tim,
That's how
you know
that's the thing.
Don't let him
Doesn't matter.
distract you.
I'm distracting you,
Yes.
Tim. Trying to derail a rant.
Wests Live podcast
Yeah.
is basically a rant with four blokes. It's basically this next 10 minutes,
Yeah.
the entirety about how shit the club is.
Okay.
Do
All
I
right.
agree with most of the things they say? Absolutely.
Okay,
But
wow.
here,
right.
yeah, 100%.
I mean, I can't say I've listened to any of them.
The problem is, and there's multiple facets to the issue that they're trying to get at.
Sure.
We'll stick with the
big stick.
We'll stick with the big stick, Lee, and his response to coming on the show. So basically, they've just had a gutful of the board, and they're saying the position's untenable, and all this, just hammering the board, hammering Pascoe, and all that stuff.
And there's a lot of people in that same
Rightly
boat.
so.
Yeah, I was going to I'm trying to clarify the way through.
Yes.
So yes, they're not wrong in their assessment of the
Yes.
situation.
So they have reached out to the chairman and said, "How about you come on the podcast and
about
be
you be
held
a fair income Aussie?"
be full grown Aussie and be accountable, for your actions and to the fans." So then Lee just absolutely burns this
Unloads.
cat, absolutely burns him, and says, "You are no asset.
Yeah.
Being on your podcast is no asset to the club. You mean nothing to
The
me."
guy that owns the law firm is like, yeah, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll lead in with my chin.
It's unbelievable.
He's never going to go on. It's never going to happen. It just won't happen.
Quote, "What could possibly convince me to go on your podcast given the vitriol and abuse you have directed to the Wests Tigers in general, but to individuals within the organisation in particular? How do you call yourself a fan of the club is difficult to understand. You do nothing but criticise. I have never seen anything posted positive about the club. We are not immune to legitimate criticism." Here's where I digress. "But the venom with which you spew forth your abuse is disconcerting, if not disgraceful." Words from the Wests Tigers chairman to the head of a podcast guy.
I was going to say, the podcast guy's already won. Rob's already won at this point, right?
He's won.
He's won in that,
He's got the response.
yeah, he got the bite.
Yeah. So then, Twitter user at Stanton J. Timothy,
He
when
sounds
this first came out,
attractive.
follow him on Twitter, had a go because he's saying it's it's disgraceful that he's responded in such a way. To which I said, to paraphrase, what response would have been acceptable? He's like, a simple no would have been okay. And it's like,
No.
for you to think that you would accept a no goes against everything
You're delusional.
your podcast has stood for, bashing this bloke. And what does it achieve for the chairman of the Wests Tigers to be yelled at for an hour and a half? Is he going to sit there after the podcast and go, you know what? Rob Becerra and the Wests Live fucking podcast, they've made me realize that I'm incompetent to run a fucking club, and I'm going to resign as chairman and major sponsor immediately. You're a fucking idiot. What in your right mind makes you think that you're going to fucking change the course of the Wests Tigers? You literally yell down a microphone and say how shit they are week to week. Like what we fucking do here.
I was like,
This is
gimmick
what-
infringement.
You would not let him spit a single word out of his mouth. You'd just be down his fucking throat the whole fucking time. Nothing would get achieved. And you would sit back and get all your little gotcha bits and all your things, make yourself all big and fucking tough. The reality of the situation is, Lee's right. Your podcast wouldn't do shit to fix the Wests Tigers, and you guys fucking know it.
And besides, what would they talk about the week after?
Exactly. They have nothing to fucking talk about. Oh, he's resigned. Oh.
All right.
Oh, that concludes the Wests Live podcast.
Go Tigers.
Like, honestly, it is beyond... They think Lee's delusional. To think that he's going to go on the podcast and change the course of 2 decades of incompetence is nothing short of delusional. And I tell you what this comes back to, and this is what I want to bring up. Remember a couple of years ago, it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, when the Wallabies just lost the plot. And remember there was that guy who put on social media
Yeah.
about that rant, basically
Yes.
like, you guys have no passion and I'll come to the club and train you and all that sort of stuff. That's what this is.
Yeah.
That guy achieved nothing
Yeah.
when he sent that letter to the Wallabies. It was literally a bunch of garbage saying, I'm more passionate than the fucking players. Do you think this guy, like, Lee is in a fucking pissing contest because he's got his name all over this shit. Do you actually think he wants to fucking fail?
No, of course not.
I mean, the decisions that have been made suggest otherwise. But do you honestly believe that a guy has risen to this much success is going to go,
Putting
you know
that
what?
much money
I'm
back
going to
in.
fuck over my own team.
No.
Of course not. Does that mean he shouldn't fucking step aside? I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying to think that the Wests Life podcast
You got
and
that
going
much
on that could actually
gumption.
make a difference in turning around 2 decades of pure and utter incompetence is the definition of delusion. And the fact that they are generating fame off this is absolute rubbish. And that, to me, is the most disgraceful part of all of it.
I quite like Rob. No, I don't. I've never watched the. I've never watched.
There's your fucking supercut.
There you go. I'm going to spend the rest of the episode trying to top Wests Tigers, West Life as a podcast. I'm going to top the Wests Tigers.
I just think, what CEO or chairman of an NRL club would go on a podcast that literally spends its entire time yelling
Well, he's
down
got
and
a-
saying that they're shit?
He has an
What
open invitation.
CEO and chairman of any sports club in Australia, if not the world, would go on a podcast like that and just sit there and cop it and then go to themselves, oh, maybe I'm the problem. Seriously.
Well, I'm glad I brought my raincoat.
I don't know. Maybe they thought, you know, maybe they weren't even trying to do change. Maybe they were just like, oh, we're sick of talking about this guy. Let's get him on and we can ask him to his face why he's doing this, why he's doing that.
No, because
Not to...
it would be like me just interrupting you there. I'd just stop you right there. No, because of this, and this. Like that, that's what it would be.
True.
Nothing would actually get achieved. The sidebar to this, and this is where it gets, this is a part that I disagree in Lee's sort of rant back. It's basically saying, if you want to fucking have a go at me, become a member and direct it through the club.
Be a man. Be 40.
Yeah. Don't just sit there on your little high horse on your little podcast that no one listens to and tell me how to run the fucking club. And then that sparked a debate of, well, he doesn't care about fans and sort of stuff. He doesn't have to answer to fans. Like, the club is making record memberships, record profits for the first time in the club's history. That's why nothing's going to change, because they all look back and go, we're fucking killing it.
Yeah, breaking 22-year drafts. And
Don't give a fuck. So why would they make a change? The only way they're going to make a change is by members bowing out. And that's what I
it's
said
a
to them.
weird
That's what I
argument.
said to them.
It's a weird thing for Lee to be like, you should, if you want to give me money, if you want to see change. You're like, no, wouldn't I be more likely just to take my money elsewhere? And
But it also comes to the
doesn't
fact,
that speak words? Like,
Well,
my money walks.
it comes to the fact that, like, why would I go on a podcast that, like, members aren't even...
Oh, yeah,
I'm not
in
you fucking
hold
care
to-
about, like,
yeah.
and I actually agree with that sentiment. But then it sparked this whole debate of, well, fans are treated differently to members. Mate, I'm a fucking 10 fucking plus year member.
You're currently
I don't give-
wearing the-
I'm fucking
the
wearing my
lanyard.
lanyard.
Yeah.
This is like, they don't even listen to us. Like, what makes you think they're going to listen to the fans? And again, it comes back to the whole thing. At that high level, everything is moving forward in the right direction, except the results on the field. So
Yeah.
why would the board sack themselves? Because they can sit back and the CEO, and that's why fucking Orange Tips is still there. Because he goes, look what I've done with the club. I've got this. I've got a center of excellence. I've got this. I've got that. We're moving in the right direction financially. We're building a fan base. We've got the biggest amount of members ever. Tick, 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 tick. Oh, but on field is rubbish.
How
And
is
that's
that
what the fans
possible?
care about the most.
So how, but I just, okay. I'm asking too big a question here, but like, how is that possible? Like, how can that be such a disconnect between those two things? It doesn't, like, surely they go hand in hand. I mean, look at the teams that are
incompetence.
achieving. Right, yeah.
But like, look at America, for example. The Oakland A's, the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're literally just there to make money. They don't give a fuck. Derek Jeter literally left the Miami Marlins because he actually wanted to win, and they said no.
Yeah.
We were about trying to make money.
That's crazy.
I just don't understand how they think they can change the course of a national rugby league team in a 1 hour yelling match with a lawyer.
Don't think you can, Tim.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know
So
what
why
to
is
say.
this a story?
I think
Because people fucking carry on. This is the biggest non-story in the fucking history of rugby league. Because it is the lowest hanging fruit to go, what can we fucking write about the Tigers now? Oh, one idiot with his own podcast, didn't get the chairman on. Of course he fucking didn't.
I think the story's more that the guy took the time to reply instead of just ignoring it
He
like
should have
any
ignored
other.
it.
And just
He
ended
should have
it.
just
and just said,
ignored it.
you actually mean nothing to me.
Oh,
And
he
no.
didn't even have to say
Yeah,
that. He
no,
could
I
have just ignored it altogether.
Yeah.
No, but then that would have generated the furthest
Yeah, but he
response.
wouldn't have had
And
as
that's
much
That's what I
fuel.
said to them on Twitter. I said, what response would have made you sit back and go, oh yeah, they wouldn't have, and they said, oh, a simple no would have sufficed. No, it wouldn't have. So even a non-response would have shown that he's gutless and blah, 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 he doesn't know how to run a team. They actually got a response and he actually fucking clapped back and now they're carrying on. No.
So is this the time for us to extend an invite to Lee H?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a mailbagger.
We're members. Well, one of us is.
One of us is.
1/3.
But again, coming on this podcast achieves nothing. I would happily have the chairman of West Side. I would give him the questions before we went on air
Wow, bold.
Well, yeah, of course he would.
because
Yeah.
I would actually try and give thought-provoking questions that may actually generate discussion and responses that we could work together for, not just you're fucking shit and blah, blah, blah. Because that's what they would have got on this podcast.
Oh,
In conclusion, Libya is a land of great contrast.